Running our own business isn't easy, and it can be a tough gig for all of us at times, and only other business owners truly understand the challenges that we face. And on ScaleUp Radio, we aim to help make things just that little bit easier by interviewing guests who have been where you are now, regardless of where you are on the ScaleUp journey, and maybe facing some of the challenges that you are facing. And they offer their thoughts and advice on what has worked well for them, as well as what didn't, of course. And we've also combined many of these lessons into a practical scale-up handbook called the Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System. And there's details of this at the end of the episode. So welcome to ScaleUp Radio.
Hello, Gildas Jones. Welcome to ScaleUp Radio. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, I'm Gildas Jones, and I'm director of A Geek. We are a managed service company based in central Bristol.
Awesome. So tell me about your business. When did it start? How long have how many people have you got in it? What your size? Where have you got to?
Okay, so I'll just probably start with what we do now, and we can go back and what I used to do, because the tech landscape's changed greatly in the last 17 years we've been in business. So what we do now, we provide cybersecurity compliance and support for fast-growing businesses across the UK. So that's our main that's our focus. So cybersecurity compliance, whether that's Cyber Essentials Plus, ISO 27001. So we provide that as a service such that the clients can relax and not have to think about that, because that's something that we find that people don't want to think about particularly. It's too boring for most people, to be fair.
Yes, they want to feel safe in terms of doing that, but I'd never call it boring in terms of its requirements and need in terms of that. So how big are you at the moment? How many team?
We have 11 staff currently.
Wow, excellent. And so give us a sort of an understanding in terms of then, managed support, so I'm a small business owner. I've got 6 or 7 employees. How would you interact with me and help me become more secure, etc.? So tell me through your services a bit more.
We take you on a journey. So we normally work with slightly larger business, slightly higher headcounts in terms of business, kind of 10 plus up to about sort of 80 or 90. So what we do to start with, we look at where you are at the moment. So we do an assessment of where you are. So we just go through and audit all your systems to make sure, in terms of like what's up to date, what's not, what's secure, what's not, where's your 365 sitting, where's your Google Workspace sitting, as in terms of what's in place in terms of security. So we do a large audit to start with, and then on the back of that, we do an onboarding project, which takes around 6 to 8 weeks. So as a business owner, there'll be some changes to be made at this point to get everything aligned in terms of cybersecurity compliance, depending on which standard you are going for. And it's a very handheld journey, so you don't have to be technical, you don't have to know anything about it. We just have to have a kind of an organized person on the other end to do the internal comms on their side, so it's such that their whole operation goes smoothly, because we'll have to look at everybody's laptop. A lot of them get refreshed, depending on where they're at the moment. That all depends on that point in time and where they're coming from at that point.
Yeah. Okay. And in terms of then, post the implementation and the changes that we need to do, how do you then support me? Okay, so I've now got 25 staff, so I'm within your target range now.
So we provide the ongoing sort of cybersecurity compliance, the reports and everything you need to prove that you are keeping up with your certification. Say if you have something like ISO 27001, to be monthly reports on your updates. So that's kind of like, it's kind of boring, but it's the stuff that you need to have to prove that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing in terms of any type of compliance. And then we speak to you on some companies have a monthly check-in, others have just quarterly business review, and we'll be checking in to see where you're going as a business, what changes you made. It might be that you bought a new property, or somewhere you're moving premises, and we'll look at, like, we could put in the technology for that new place. We'd put in the Wi-Fi systems, but check what the broadband is in that area. Just those type of projects would be the ongoing projects. And also things like, there's a lot on the horizon. Things like AI is on the horizon at the moment. So there's a lot of cybersecurity compliance around AI, and that's quite a hot topic at the moment. So we're kind of it's on the very near horizon, and that's going to drop on our lap, and we're just prepping for that at the moment, in terms of data labeling and things that need to happen in order to have a safe transition to your staff using AI within the business. So that's something that's quite new and quite needs a bit of thought before you switch it on, essentially. So your junior employees aren't Googling what's the business strategy, what does the director get paid, and getting answers, because your permissions need to be watertight, as you can imagine. So we do this on top of all the day-to-day. So the day-to-day for you as a business would be like, oh, we've got a new team member, they're starting next week, we need a new laptop for them, they're based in Warwick, can you deliver to this address, this team member's moving on or leaving, can we make sure they're securely offboarded or their accounts closed down and their device brought back into the fold for reuse, that type of thing. So that's the kind of day-to-day. And we normally work closely with, so as a business owner of 25, we'd probably be working with say your operations manager or director, or you're just somebody who's a sort of a mildly technical lead that can actually somebody who's organized, essentially, and is organized. So it'd be somebody like, sometimes it's head of people. It depends on the company and how they're structured and who they put forward to volunteer for the role, essentially.
Yes. A volunteer for the role. Yes. I mean, I as a business to get above sort of 50 employees, though, wouldn't they start employing their own type of technical person in the business? So how do you sort of maintain that relationship with those sort of larger clients? Well,
it's a good point. I mean, so if you look at the financial statistics, as in like if you compared our service to employing somebody, you'd need about 120 staff before it started to become viable. Just due to, if you employ somebody and then they need holiday, they need managing, they need a device, they need everything else, and they're not there for, I think we worked it out. I've made a video on this the other day, actually. I should know this off the top of my head. I think it's about 2 months a year they're not actually available to do any work. So 2 months of the year, you've got no help desk, nobody supporting your business. So we do elements of co-managed, as in they bring an IT manager in. Depends on the scale of the business. Depends on what the technology is in a business. Some businesses are very straightforward and you don't need any technical manager, director, because it's all kind of quite straightforward. Other companies might be an engineering company. We've got some deep tech companies that work in a lot of space. So they've got some high-end kit, so they've got specialist equipment for doing measurements. So they might bring somebody in just to kind of help with their internal specialist equipment, because it's not always, because it's sometimes some of that stuff is kind of, it needs a person to kind of manage that internal, because if it's a line of business app, whether it's mission critical but then it's really hard to use, that's not something we can we can't look after it as well. So that's what we know. So they bring somebody in and kind of and that person would act as their kind of VCIO as well. It depends on what level they're employing at, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that really makes sense in terms of that, especially that 2 months away is quite a scary number when you put it all together in terms of that. So what do you strive to be best at as a business? What you try to be different?
We're very good at supporting businesses and need data governance and cybersecurity compliance. So that's where we kind of thrive as a business. That's where we're good. This may be, the compliance will probably be driven by industry regulation, or more often than not, it's investors asking questions, doing funding rounds. We work with a lot of fast growth startup companies in doing amazingly interesting work, a lot in the green space. And we found, that's where we excel, in making sure that those companies can move forward, satisfy the investors' requirements for cybersecurity, look after their IP and so forth. And that's where that's our kind of sweet spot, really.
Right. Okay. So we've talked about, your ideal customer is 10 to 90. I presume the larger the number, the better in terms of the type of. Do you specialize in any industries or anything in terms of that?
We're quite general in terms of industries, but we do tend to have attracted in the last few years. We have quite a few in recruitment space, which is that's just happened organically over the years. It's not something we've actively recruited in, but yeah, we just tend to, I think we suit recruitment companies in some fashion. They just like what we do. And there's also startups, so it's people who sort of fast growth companies, so technology companies that are growing quickly. They like just trying to think of someone we suit. Yeah, just like we've got one that's taking particle matter out of washing machines. So washing machines create a lot of small plastic particles that go into the water system because your clothes, because everyone's got nylon blah blah clothes, and they're developing systems that filter that out such that you can remove stop those thousands of millions of small particles entering the water supply and ultimately ending up in the sea. So yeah, that's a company that's got an idea. They're getting funding and they get another round of funding, and that's kind of, we help them in each stage of their growth of the company, because obviously when they're a 10 user company, it's a totally different animal to a 30 user to a 50 user. It's a kind of you get more layers of management. It's quite interesting watching these companies grow in that size, and just kind of watching how they change and how they have to become more corporate, more regulated, more kind of structured in their approach. And yeah, we tend to attract companies like that, I think, because we've just achieved B Corp as a certification. So B Corp being the sort of ethical business kind of badge of honor, as it were, which that's attracting the businesses like that are trying to do also ethical and trying to do a good thing in the world.
Well done. Yeah, that's great news.
Okay.
So talk about the marketplace. There are lots of other IT managed service companies out there, etc. What's the marketplace like for you? Is it successful? Is it aggressive? How would you describe it?
To be honest, at the moment, so I've gone from a first-rate. So in the time I've had my business, I've gone from a first-rate tech to probably a second or third-rate salesperson, and that's my job at the moment. So so the market is just mostly me promoting, and so we've got a marketing manager to kind of attract the business, and I do the sales conversations. Yeah, business is good. Yeah, we've just signed a new client last month. We don't need hundreds of clients. We just slowly, organically, build up our client base. But yeah, I mean, obviously, there's always competition out there. There's always somebody doing it cheaper, which we don't really want to be stuck on competing on price. To be honest, you've got to be reasonable, but at the same time, what we offer, I think, is a lot. It's a lot kind of a bit of a higher standard than a lot of people. Not a lot of people. I wouldn't say that, but some other companies have a very low bar entry into. So they take a client on, give them antivirus and an RMM, so an antivirus and just the remote managing, and that's it. And they'll say, "Oh, that's X amount per month, and we'll give you all the support." Whereas we take a different approach to that. So I don't feel comfortable supporting a company because that's nothing like enough to support them as a business. So even our minimum plans give the client what I feel comfortable is enough to support their business in terms of cybersecurity, compliance, and it just makes life a lot less stressful as a business owner. I found being like that, because as an IT owner, we used to have a lot more clients. So over the years, obviously, we've been going 17 years. So coming up 17 years in September, actually, and we've had a lot of clients over that time, and we've had to let a lot of smaller clients go because they won't take IT security seriously, and if they won't, and it's just kind of, and then as an owner, you just don't want to sit there worrying at night thinking, oh yeah, that company that we did some work for last year, they probably think their IT systems are all great at the moment when they're just really hanging out in cyberspace waiting for something to go wrong. So that's what I really don't want on my conscience or on the books, to be honest. So we have a particular standard, and if people don't want that standard, that's fine, but we can't support anybody below that.
Excellent. So you mentioned that a couple of times. So started 17 years ago. So let's go back to that. Why did you start this journey? Let's talk about that.
Oh my goodness, yeah, that was a long time ago. Yeah, so 17 years ago, so I was providing kind of highly technical post tech support for a post-production company, so TV graphics. So we were supporting high-end servers and workstations. And I just had my second child at that point, and I just got to the point where I thought I just don't want to work for somebody else anymore. I know this is a bit of a cliche, but I mean, there's a saying I've heard recently, which is quite key in this. It sort of says people don't leave businesses, they leave managers.
Yeah.
And that's quite an interesting state. So that's kind of where I was at. I mean, no disrespect for the guy I was managing at the time. That's a very long time ago, but I just felt like I wanted to do my own thing. So I could see a huge demand for no-nonsense tech support for small businesses and sole traders. So I'd get asked for advice all the time. And yeah, so the nugget was once you got the idea in your head, it's kind of like, I kind of want to do that. So yeah, so that's where A Geek was born 17 years ago. So my wife came up with a name, which is brilliant. So very memorable. And yeah, and I started doing small jobs in the evening. Friends I was working with, because it's TV post-production, some of them were designers, they put together the logo. And yeah, and then then when I was getting enough jobs in the evening, thinking, well, at this stage I'm just going to go for it. Yeah, jumped ship and started the business. So yeah, that was the start of the journey.
Brilliant. So you've grown it over the last 17 years. Give us a few sort of highlights of that journey. You know, what worked, do you think, and what didn't work? So what change of direction did you do?
Oh my God, the journey. I mean, 17 years is. In that time, I've had a lot of children. So I've had two more. So it's kind of that. So I think from about 2006 to 2013, it was mainly just me and a couple other people taking on the time. I renovated a house at the same time. Great times. They're a bit of a blur, I have to say, from 2006 to 2013 in terms of what did you do in that time? Well, I just kind of, had a lot of children and survived. That was my kind of, and run a business at the same time. It was very busy times. It was like, barely caught a breath. But then about 2013, I started working with my first business coach. And then I started to put a bit more structure into the business. So I had a couple of guys I was working with and I was farming work out to. So then we started getting a bit more structure in place, a bit more kind of proper company about it. 2016, I hired a marketing manager, did a complete rebrand and started some new support packages. 2018, I had another business coach, and this time that person was from another MSP. So he had just exited quite a large MSP, and so I got some really good sort of hands-on advice on what to do on the dailies, how to just make the company more profitable and more kind of aligned, as it were. So then 2019, I joined an industry-specific coaching program. So there's a lot of coaching in there.
That's good.
This is not due to just be on your podcast. It's just I had to think back and to see what kind of made the difference. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
In terms of milestones, it's a thinking milestone rather than the kind of the big things. It's rather like So I joined the coaching program with an accountability program. It's kind of with it. It's a whole wraparound service, and that's made a huge difference because I'm in a group of about 40 other. It's 40 now. MSPs. So I've got the kind of we've got the kind of the hive mind type thing going on there. So you've got the experience and benefit of talking to a lot of people who are all experienced in one problem or another at any one point in time. So it's always good to have some good advice. So yeah, and then 2020, as I say, we changed the way we work and what we could and what we can and what we won't provide. That was a big change, and that was quite hard, I found, because when you build a business, you've got lots of loyal clients, and you've been working with, and you know them so well because you've worked with them for years. And you kind of have to get to the point where you've got these people that got lovely people, but they only phone you up every 3 months for a presenting issue. And it's kind of, one, you can't make a living doing that, and two, it's kind of you're doing them a little bit of a disservice in not doing all of the things you need to do to keep them safe. So we decided to sort of cut it off at that point for a lot of smaller clients, very small clients. I mean, some of these are kind of people I've worked for a long time, but they understood. I had conversations over emails, kind of saying a bit of a goodbye and thank you for their business. But yeah, so then we went contract only, and then I sat down with our technical lead. This is 2020 still. This is just before the start of the pandemic. Quite straight. This is like February or so, and then we built the packages out, saying like, what are we comfortable providing? What's the minimum level? Because obviously you can always spend more on on cybersecurity. It's like an arms race. It's unlimited. But what level are we comfortable where we can go, right, this is a good value service for our clients? So we built those, and then we made those plans. So we made up those plans based around the technical framework of what we think is required, and then we moved forward from there. And then a lot of our existing clients came onto those plans, which is great. So they took the lead, they took the advice and took the lead, and then I think they were quite glad they did that. A couple of years down the line, when all this compliance stuff pops up, and think, oh yeah, you've already got it. So that's quite good. Yeah, so that's gone well. So now we're in 2023. We've just got B Corp, and we're about to be a cyber essentials assessment body. So we can sign off our own certs, which is quite nice. Yeah, so that's where we are now, and we do more of the same. Essentially, we're just about to revamp our plans a little bit, but essentially, it's growing on the same. It's an additive plan rather than a whole system change in a sweep like we did last time.
Wow. Great, what a fantastic journey in terms of and your thinking around that. And as you say, it's been the learning and the changes that have come along that have helped you to see and make those changes. So, okay, amongst that, you've got to recruited people. You've got 11 staff. So, what works, what didn't work with hiring? How's that gone?
Oh my goodness, hiring, that's probably the hardest thing to do in business, I think.
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. Very good. So we've had some fantastic hires and we've had some less fantastic hires. I think, say what went wrong. I think you just have to get the right person and don't be in a hurry, because sometimes we've hired quickly and they haven't quite fitted the role, but we think they might, but they never quite did. So that's kind of the hard thing, is people have to kind of be matched to their skills and where their comfort zone is. There's something called the genius model. I don't know if you know that, where you see what people are comfortable doing and then where their happy place is. And you kind of want to hire for people who will be in their happy place for the job you're giving them. That's something I've learned. And also regular management, so monthly check-ins, monthly one-to-ones, just to make sure that everyone's on track, keeping the KPIs and the kind of business goals and keeping everything moving, really. So that's something else. Because if you let it go too long, I mean, it's like anything. People will kind of do what if there's no direction, they'll kind of do what they think is right. And then that's not necessarily what you want, and you end up with a mismatch. So yeah, so I've had to do, I went on a management course about 4 years ago, I think it was, and that's quite useful to learn how to do that management piece, not having been a manager previously. So just that kind of, whether you're just recognizing whether you're having a coaching conversation, whether you're kind of or how that management piece is going in the one-to-one, and kind of if you're high directional, say, if you're kind of for somebody who doesn't really know and don't know what they're doing, just making sure it's very clear and they've got a standard operating procedure. And then for the senior staff, more, as I said, more of a kind of coaching type approach to get them to come up with the idea. But that's been an interesting journey in my own development thing, trying to work out how to do that over a long period of time.
And I would actually say, I had a part of my time, I've had a corporate career, and learning to be a manager even after training, it's still a skill you improve and you develop all the time in everything that you do. And being a manager and being a leader are very different roles, and but they're both really important in a small business, where in a big business you can just play the manager, or you could just play the leader. In a small business you've got to play both, and it's interesting you're talking about that and found that requirement. So
it's quite difficult. Yeah, I mean, yeah, as you say, every day's a school day, and it's kind of, you just have to keep it. You just have to keep learning.
So how culture is really important. We talk about culture a lot. So how have you maintained the culture in the team as you've grown and extended your staff numbers?
We've got the culture. We do events. We've got three events a year, 4 events a year. Just kind of going out, having some food, kind of a bit of socialising. But the culture is obviously it's just to try and keep the team a bit bonded in some way and just kind of connected with each other. But I think the culture is kind of I'm not overly officious in the office. I mean, I'm kind of like quite relaxed. So the atmosphere is quite relaxed in the office, but it's kind of a relaxed kind of get on with the work type environment, if you see what I mean. A relaxed but kind of productive environment. But it's the culture piece. We've got the culture piece on the website, but it's generally just kind of be a nice person, essentially, be a decent human being in every interaction and everything that you do, and then you can't really go wrong in that, really.
I like that. The culture is be a nice human being. Brilliant. It's important then, you've been, you're building the business, you're playing in terms of all the growing that you've gone through, which is fabulous. How do you keep focusing then on the right things to do next in the business? What's your ways of doing that?
Well, we've got we've got our senior leadership team now. It's myself and the technical director and the accounts. Well, we've got a couple. We've got 4 of us in the senior leadership team, so we've got a marketing manager as well. So we look to industry trends. We look to where everything's going in terms of tech, and we kind of that's what kind of drives us. We look at what other companies are doing in this space, what the successful companies are doing. So yeah, and there are many routes. So for a managed service provider like ourselves, there's probably about 5 different routes to go down, and we've kind of chosen the compliance route just because that suits the way we are and kind of the way we operate. But yeah, other people, other companies have chosen other routes, so that's where we're going. So that's where that's given us a kind of, well, if we're going to do that, we need to do this. It's kind of like it gives you the bigger goal, I suppose, doesn't it? It gives you the kind of, here's the signpost, the direction where we're going, and then let's get a strategy and goals and everything to align to get us there.
And the team of 4 around you, do they take on different elements of that, or does it all come from you? How do you decide?
No, I'm kind of I tend not to be too directional in terms of that, because with the senior leadership team, it's kind of like everyone has to have an equal say. I think it's nothing worse than not being able to have your say, or that's frustrating. Everyone needs to have their input, don't they, in terms of where we're going. But I mean, it's driven by the market, and it's driven by what we're innately good at. So that's quite good. But yeah, there's always discussions on how to get there, and that's a different story. We know where we're going, but which method of getting there is another conversation.
Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's the tactics. Once you've got the direction, it's then the tactics to get you there, which is always some really good debates and discussions in terms of doing things. So cash is king. How do you keep an eye on cash within the business?
Our accounting's done monthly, so we have every month we kind of can see the figures and see where we are. We as a sort of monthly, so we've got monthly recurring revenue for a good proportion of the business. So we know what's coming in each month. So yeah, we didn't always have that, and that was kind of quite stressful, to be honest, because we relied a lot on project income. And then, funnily enough, I've had a few finance coaches actually, and I've had 2, and when they were like, "Oh, it's funny, isn't it? You rely on this sort of ad hoc income, but it comes in every month." They were quite surprised, but yeah, that's it. We've changed that model somewhat. But yeah, cash is you have to have. You've got to. Most of our clients, we use direct debit. I mean, it's on a monthly basis, such that we don't tend to have too much long term, but a few stragglers, but mostly the debts are paid each month. The money's paid each month, so you've got enough money to cover your wages, which is essentially the wages and the expenses of the business. So that's that helps you sleep at night as a business owner, to be honest.
Yes, I think that moving to that reoccurring model of income, I think, is just really vital for a business to get to that stability point, especially that sleep at night point. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, of course, over the years had a few, trying to few sleepless nights when how you're going to pay your VAT bill and that type of thing. It's just, it's never worth it.
Yes.
Get that bit sorted early on. It's a good question. Actually.
Yeah, and
it
is a vital one. Absolutely, it's a vital question to really think about in a growing business. So it's great to see that you got some coaching which challenge you on that, and you've moved to that model over time, because you can completely change the de-stress of the model in terms of doing stuff. So as you're growing the business and in developing, you've done a lot of coaching, etc. But how do you manage not getting overwhelmed by everything that needs to do in the business? What's your tricks to do that, if you have any?
I'm managing overwhelm. Oh gosh, yeah. That's another good question. So managing over, I do a lot of exercise. I do a lot of. I go to the gym 3 times a week. I play badminton. So badminton's a nice de-stressor. So generally keep myself pretty healthy. To manage overwhelm, we do regular monthly management meetings where we go through what we have to do that month and the rest of it. But it's still that's probably one of the hardest things still to manage is overwhelm. Part of the group. So part of the coaching I have at the moment has a kind of group cohort element to it. So we're in pods. So we either check in this afternoon actually. So we all chat about what's going on for us in our business and what the issues are this week. And to be honest, that's kind of a massive offload point, because there's always somebody having a minor meltdown whichever week, and everyone just chips in what their advice is, and everyone's been pretty much in every position before. That's the thing, because as you grow, it all changes. It's the same. It's almost like the same story is repeating itself, but because you've gone to 7 staff, or you've gone to 8, 9, 10 staff. I don't know. Or however it is, the business takes a slightly different shape, and then something goes slightly out of kilter. So yeah, it's one of those. Or it's just one of those ones where you've got 50 spinning plates and you haven't got back to one, which is quite a big thing. But yeah, no, it's great to have other people to discuss it and talk to is invaluable, because otherwise it's a lonely place otherwise.
Yes, no, I totally agree with that. So let's just talk a little bit more about the business. Here's a question for you then. So if you could start over again, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently to start your business? And
oh god, how long we got? Okay, I would build a contract-based business from the outset. I wouldn't do any ad hoc work. I'd say there'd be a monthly retainer from day one, and just build on that. And then I'd hire a business coach early on, or join a group of business coaches as a group coaching session cohort type of thing, just because that accelerates the growth. You get the information you need at a timely time. That's the sort of thing I would. But to be honest, where I was at the outset of this business, I wouldn't have had time to listen to a coaching session. I wouldn't have, because I had so much going on in my life with all the small children and house renovation. We renovated quite a large house, and it's just up blimey. I didn't have 5 minutes to spare. So that's another. Yes, it is one thing you do need a bit of headspace in a business. So I lacked that for quite a long time.
Right.
Not like complaining. Just got 4 fantastic children, but yeah, just got quite a lot of grey hair to show for it.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I think that is really hard. In the early days of any small business, is finding that headspace and that time in terms of doing that. But if you can, as you say, it really works to have that time to think and to grow. And if you find a group of people to help think and grow with, even more. So, one final sort of question then about the industry then. Okay, so if I was to give you a magic wand, okay, what thing would you change about the industry? Something that really frustrates you.
About the whole IT industry, what the managed service provider industry.
Yeah,
I would maybe. I think I would make it easier for companies to compare apples with apples in terms of their offers, because I think it's very hard for a company that doesn't know anything about IT to look at managed service quotes and distinguish what is what and what value is being provided here. Am I being ripped off? Why is this so cheap? All those things. That's such a difficult industry to sell into, because everybody has a slightly different approach in the way they sell. And I've seen a lot of managed service quotes from other providers, a lot through the group. So it's not, and yeah, I wouldn't know which one to buy myself. And I've been doing this for 17 years or more for IT. Quite did like 25 years if you add up all the IT time.
Yeah.
And I can't. Yeah, I'd struggle to know what was what and why I would purchase one package over the other, and yeah, what technical products they've put in the list. Why is that any better than this technical product that this person's put in the list? Because people don't care about technology. I find our clients they couldn't give a monkey's that. They care about the outcomes and the benefits, which is, are you safe? Is your files backed up? Are you compliant? Do you have that level of reassurance that everything's going to be all right? And if in the event of something going badly wrong, so that's what you need. But that's sold in many ways, and I think sometimes it's impossible to demonstrate your value when just the person who's buying it doesn't understand what they're buying. Essentially, it's too complicated to purchase. Essentially,
yeah. Very interesting. Yes, that's an interesting problem to try and solve there. Okay, so if we were to meet in 5 years' time and we're having a conversation looking back over the last 5 years, what's happened both professionally and personally for you to say they've been successful?
To be successful, I think we'll have scaled probably in terms of client base, would probably be 4 times the size. So I think really, what would be successful? I think, I'm 5 years time. I mean, at some point you might be looking at some sort of share options within the company or employee ownership scheme, something like that. I mean, that would look successful. Just it's nice to see the employees kind of getting a part of what it is and getting something back, because business is not just one person at the top, because that's not how it works. So everybody needs to achieve their goals as well, I feel, within the company. So that'd be a good thing. And aside from that, yeah, just to be known as the go-to company in the UK, that would be amazing. But I don't think. Yeah, that's too high a goal. I don't like too big a goals, because 5 years time, I might have a different idea. It seems too lofty. But yeah, maybe not that one. But just to be the go-to, as in like, oh right, yeah, of course, compliance, A Geek. That's what I want.
And for you personally, what would 5 years time successful look like?
5 years time success, I would like to be working probably a 2-day week, to be honest. Maybe 3-day, just spending more time doing other things, I suppose.
Yeah, exciting.
I'll probably end up with another business though, so I just want to be careful what I spend my other time doing.
Yes, there's something about entrepreneurs, isn't it? How we build other businesses while still running other businesses. So yes, I know that quite well. So what do you think are going to be the biggest challenges between now and then, that 5 years time that you've overcome? So we're sitting there having a coffee talking about it. What have you overcome? What have been the biggest challenges, do you think?
Challenges or changes? I think challenges obviously are probably much going to be similar. They're going to kind of client acquisition. So for that type of scale, we need the client acquisition. That's good. That's something you have to have a very firm plan for. Changes, well, I think we've got a huge change coming up. AI has just crept up on us. And the last 6 months, it's gone from, there's this new thing to, everyone's using it. That's going to be a huge change in the way people work and a way certain tasks might not need a person to do them in the future. So that's something that is something across every industry we need to look at in terms of kind of how we can use it to enable your business, because that's the first thing, because essentially it's an assistive technology. I went to a meetup last night from somebody called a Tech Tribe, and we had a big discussion about assistive technology, as in like screen readers and that type of thing. And then AI is a very good assistive technology. So in that, such that people will be a lot more productive, you would hope, in 5 years. So maybe we need slightly less staff for the basic tasks. So yeah, that is something interesting on the horizon that might need some does need some thinking about, and how to best implement.
Yes, and you intimated at the beginning of the conversation, you know, that the security implications of that are huge. I mean, I read an article of one of the big tech companies, Samsung. 2 of their staff have been spoken to because they used ChatGPT to correct some of the code they were writing, but effectively that code is now in ChatGPT rather than locked away in their own personalized vault.
Yes, that was exactly that was a conversation last night as well, the data governance aspects. I mean, even tools like, if you just take a basic spell checker like Grammarly, they store the information they check on for 7 years. So yes, you kind of have to be very careful where you put your data, especially ChatGPT. Yeah. Anything. So it's the same GDPR. Imagine you just put it out there imagine anyone can see it, because you don't want to put anything out it's going to sit on their servers for years to be breached at some point in time at a later date.
Oh, Gildas, thank you for an amazing conversation that we've had this afternoon. It's been fascinating in terms of the development of your business 17 years ago, deciding that you wanted to work for yourself, and that phrase that I totally agree with. You know, we often leave managers rather than leave the work in terms of what we want to do. That first few years of renovating a house, having children and everything else going on, and then that first sort of aha moment that started to build it in terms of taking on a business coach, building the structure of a business and realizing the structure needed to be there, taking on marketing managers, growing, to thinking about then changing the business. And I really like that 2020, where you refocus the business and realize that the key thing that you needed to do to get growth, getting that sustainable repeating monthly revenue is one of those key things in terms of doing that. But I like the attention to detail in terms of, how you've moved forwards in terms of building a, now B Corp, in terms of what you want to do, that you have that passion, because I often think as a business owner myself, what would keep me awake at night, but actually you worry about your clients and what would keep you awake at night of own days, and making sure that you're working with those clients that really want to protect and to take themselves forwards in terms of doing that. But a fantastic discussion about hiring and culture, and I love that phrase you use, which is good culture is just about being a nice human being. I just think that was a beautiful phrase in terms of that. Looking after yourself and your health in terms of doing that, but just the general sort of development you've done within yourself to learn, taking on a management course to learn about management, and how you then applied that into your business and taken that forwards. I think it's been a fantastic conversation today, and I really look forward to having that coffee with you in 5 years' time and seeing what you've done and achieved in that. So we finish off just with a quick fire round. So if I may, so here we go. If you would go back to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself?
Don't be so hard on yourself. It's difficult to know what I'll give myself. Depending on which version of the younger self, as in like which stage of your life. But maybe not be so hard on yourself. Okay,
thank you. Which books would you recommend?
Oh my goodness, business books. I've read so many business books. I've stopped reading them these days, just because I had so many. What would I recommend? I mean, Who Moved My Cheese is probably one of the best analogies I've ever read in terms of marketing and sales, and where's the business sitting. So that's probably the most, keep those trainers on, running around that place and checking what else is out there.
Brilliant. Yes, I like that book. It's been many years since I've read that one. Any podcasts do you listen to then? Are you into podcasts? Do you listen to any? What do you recommend?
I listen to a lot of industry specific podcasts, which are boring as hell, and I wouldn't recommend to anybody. I'm just trying to think. General business. Oh God, there's so many. You know, I like the best. I quite like. I mean, Diary of the CEO. He had some quite interesting people on occasionally. I don't know. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I tell you, the one that always makes me feel quite reassured at the end of it is Seth Godin. Sorry, yeah, his podcast. Yeah, I really like his surety in the way he speaks.
Yeah.
It's I find it very calming, especially if I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. When I don't really need new information, he can slowly feed me some basic concept over the course of an episode, which I quite enjoy.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. On your mobile phone, are there any apps that make a difference for you?
Oh my God, I don't know. Maybe the one I'm looking at most of the time is the screen time for my kids at the moment. So yeah. To be completely honest, yeah, I don't like big apps. I try and avoid the phone. I try and put it down. I try and avoid technology, to be honest, when I'm out of work.
Brilliant, love that answer. Awesome.
Yeah, I just have music. Music's the only thing. I guess that's kind of my go-to, new music.
My favorite question of all: who's had the most influence on you as a business leader?
Oh my God. Who's had the most influence on me? That's quite a hard question. I'm probably going to have to pass on that. So I can't really think who's had the most influence or who's the most. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. Yeah, I haven't got a good enough answer to answer that one. To be honest, I mean, quite a few coaches. I mean, there are business leaders that were like coaches that made differences over the years. The last coach I've been working with and I'm still working with is very good. In terms of keeping the strategy, keeping everything moving. That's what I like. But yeah, as a business leader, I mean, you can say the standards, can't you? You can say Richard Branson and people like that because that's a different era. It's a different world, isn't it? Elon Musk's a pretty amazing character. I like his spirit, even though he's completely ruined Twitter and I don't know what he's doing at the moment. But yeah, his early work was better.
Yes. Your most successful marketing tactic or lead generation?
Most successful. Do you know what? When I first started a business, I definitely think this is the most successful for the bang for the buck. It's not something I would do now. This is when I first started a business, and I did a leaflet campaign. So this is back 2006, pre kind of most of this pre-Twitter, pre a lot of the social channels. I did a leaflet drop, and then people were phoning me up after that leaflet drop up to 5 years later.
Wow.
Can you believe that? I think I did one or two. It wasn't many, but it was literally some say, "Oh yeah, I run my business. I'll put that on the pin board." And 5 years later, it literally was that. So in terms of success, I think that's a pretty good success. That people are still referencing that campaign 5 years later.
Brilliant.
It's a long time ago now, but I just found that hilarious.
Awesome. Oh, I love that one. Thank you so much. And then finally, Gildas, how can people get hold of you?
So to get hold of me, it's just on the website. Just go straight to our website, dialageek.co.uk. There is a meeting booking session there. You can just click a link on the front, book a meeting with me. If you mention Granger Fulton in the note, I'll be less salesy in terms of I know where it's come from. And if you want to book in for a chat about any sort of cybersecurity, I'll happily speak to anyone just to kind of have that conversation. If you mention Granger, yeah, you'll get a less of a right fit call, more of a kind of a general advice session. So yeah.
Awesome, Gildas. Thank you very much for a fantastic conversation today.
Yeah, thank you, Granger. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, fantastic.
I hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if you're building and scaling your own business, you might well be interested in our book, The Entrepreneurial ScaleUp System. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a practical handbook around scaling a business in a structured way. And you can order a copy on all your favourite online retailers, including an audio version, or you can find it and other supporting resources on our website, www.esusgroup.co.uk. That's esusgroup.co.uk, which is esusgroup.co.uk.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.